and it's about the fairy tale. All of us have, we grew up hearing the grandma tales about fairies and the lords living in the castles, and having a fairy day, fairy like life, meeting their Prince Charming. So let me invite my friend from UK, Mr. Nebel Gund, to discuss exactly this aspect of our today's life.
Good morning, CK. Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry, but I've left my fairy wings in the garden. We haven't got them on at the moment. But yes. Are these fairy tales or are they close to reality? What do you think?
Well, when we were kids, we really believed in them. We always believed there was a king, a queen, a princess, and a prince, and they had a happy ever after moment. But now we have become mature, and we try to put the things in perspective. I personally feel the life would have sucked inside a castle, simply because you need to get your water, you need to get do your chores, you need an army of servants to do your work, and there was no piped water in those days. There was no pump. How they would have got their water supplied to the king's chamber or queen's chamber or bathroom so high up in the turret? You can be a king, but you won't be doing it by yourself. There must be somebody to do it. And when you have so many people to work for you, it creates a chaos. It creates a smell. It creates a stench. And then it also creates a cleanliness fiasco. So I'm assuming that even the Disney logo is a castle. But I'm sure the living conditions may be appalling in those buildings.
Well, they certainly were. I mean, certainly down at the bottom, because you mentioned about how does the water get to the king's bath? Quite simple, in a bucket carried by somebody else. Certainly not the king, certainly not the princess, not the prince or the queen, or any of the courtiers. It would have been by a lowly servant. And how times change, really. All we do is our lowly servant is now called a tap. So perhaps this is artificial intelligence at work. Perhaps, you never know. Plumbers invented taps, and we can actually pump water around the house. But yeah, a servant would have literally carried it in a bucket, or if they were a particularly big household, I would imagine they would have had a yoke, a bit like you see over cattle that are pulling in the old way of tilling over the soil. So and then you carry two. So and I suppose those people were really fortunate, because we know why the yoke is invented, because it takes the pressure off everywhere else in the body. So, and well, that'd be a bit bigger, wouldn't it? Carrying one bucket up a few stairs. And it wasn't a few stairs, was it? It was hundreds of stairs. And where's the water? Because the water isn't halfway up. The water was right down the bottom. And I suppose if the king had been nice to the servant on the day, it would have been clean water. And if the king had not been very nice to the servant, it might have been a little dirty water. He wouldn't even know where that come from. But even so, has times changed? Don't we still have that hierarchy in any culture in the world? The dictatorship that we got in China. We have all of the people up there at the top eating really well, and you've got people right down at the bottom in the paddy fields, just about barely making enough income to live. But even in a democracy, it's just as bad. We've got slums all over the world in democracies, and we've got very rich people living just outside those slums. So has anything changed? Has that fairy tale actually really close to reality?
Neville, what I feel is that our romance with castle life or fairy tales has not gone away. The castles and the forts have disappeared because humans realize that they are not good enough, but we have simply copied their ways into our real life. And we actually talk about pyramids. So instead of calling them castles, now we have a pyramid structure. You look at a company, there is a pyramid structure. There is a CEO and then a bunch of guys. And the junior most guys is at the bottom. If you look at society, it's again a pyramid where the ruler of the country is really in a very cozy and nice place. Whereas, as you said correctly, there are slums and so on and so forth. If you look at dictators, it's the same thing. There are slums, people are poor, but then there are few guys who are at the tip of the pyramid or the top end of the pyramid is really where there are less people, but they have all the facilities with them. So I think, in my opinion, the fort life or the castle life is now becoming a much wider pyramid for all of us.
It's. I think I'm with you, to be honest with you. And how are we going to change that? So where are we going to start to change all this? I mean, I remember when I was a rebellious student at university, thinking, power to the people, be equitable for everybody. We should all get paid the same wage. We should all pay the same taxes. And because we live in the same street, we should all be given the same houses. Why should this person get a better house than I get? And that was the rebellious sort of late 70s. And I'm sure every student is thinking that way. Why can't I have that? But
Well,
it's a meritocracy, though. We should be promoting good practice.
if everybody gets equal resources, then it is a communism. But the important thing is, even communist countries have developed their own pyramids. So I don't think we can get out of it. It's not easy.
It's very true, and this is a light-hearted look into this arena. So, if you're just locking onto us now and you've only joined the conversation part-way through, this is not serious, but there is a serious message around it. We need to, if we think that equality is something that we should be looking for, and it's an inequitable society, then we need to start at home. So look at yourself, look at your own family. Is it a meritocracy? Is it a democracy? Is it a dictatorship? Are you looking at communist or capitalist traits? Or are you getting the best of all worlds? And reality is you want to get the best of all worlds, because there's clearly no one model that's right. Because if there was a model that's right, we'd all be following it, wouldn't we?
Absolutely. So, in real sense, the fairy tale castles are not really a very conducive life. It did not offer the comfort as we hear in our stories, and which is pretty much like our actual life. So instead of castles, we are living in our pyramids. So I think this is what the message is for today, Neville.
It is the message for today. Reality hurts sometimes, but once you get to know your reality, at least you've got a fighting chance to move above that reality level if you want to. Been fascinating talking with you, CK. As they say, an Englishman's home is his castle. I'm going to leave it on that note, and you can dream whatever that means to you.
Well, Neville, please go in the turret and look at your land while I'll go sit in my pyramid.
Nice speaking with you, CK. Have a good day.
Bye bye.